Looks right now I've got a pretty good signal going out, so I hope everybody can see this. Not too much interruption. Let's see what's over there. It looks like we're about set. Everything's set. Altimeter's set. Transponder's on. And looks like the laps are set, so shouldn't be too long and we'll be rolling. We're taking off on runway 16 left. We're landing south because of the winds in Seattle today, which is very common. Seems like Seattle does more south departures and arrivals than it does north. Once we get to Vancouver, we'll be continuing our flight on to Prince George in Canada. So once we get this flight in, it'll be a few minutes and I'll get the next flight set up and then we'll come back on live with the next flight. So after that, then I'll be down for a while to get the flight set for the next leg of the itinerary is Prince George, and I'm not sure where it goes to, so I'll have to look and see. Well, it looks like we made it to the end of the runway here. And we should be about ready to take off, I hope, huh? Let's see. Looks like I pulled up the wrong takeoff sequence. So let's see, landing lights are on. And, autopilot's not on yet, now it is. So we should be about ready to go here. Engine should be spooling up now. Hear them a little bit. Airspeed is 70 knots, 80 knots, 90 knots, 100 knots, 120 knots, and we should be on our way. The gear is coming up. We're flying runway heading right now. And let's check and make sure everything is set. All right, bringing the flaps back a little bit. Now we're going to start our turn to head back to Maine. VOR. Have a clear day in Seattle today. Looking pretty good, huh? So far. Now we should be ready. We are climbing out of, we're going to be climbing up to 16,000 feet before we land in Vancouver. There's Seattle. We just left there. There's the Seattle airport. As you can see, this one in front of us is Boeing Field. Let's go direct to this waypoint. We're turning and going. We could do this a lot easier if we get this button right here. Now we should have direct. Turning off the APU, bringing our flaps back. And now we should be doing all right. We're climbing to an altitude of, to cross Maine, we're climbing to an altitude of 12,000, and then we'll go on up to 16,000. Once we cross that second waypoint, we'll be starting our descent into Vancouver. It's a very short flight, so I'll probably leave the recording on as well as the stream on all the way. Let's see if we can see the, should be able, I don't know if we can see the Space Needle or not. We'll certainly try to point it out if we can. Seattle below us here. And right there coming into the picture on the right, if you can see, it's kind of hard to see, is the Space Needle standing there by itself. Maybe I can put the cursor on it and help you see it. It's right here. Space Needle. You may not be able to see it because it'll, when this comes back, it's going to be hard to see, but that is the Space Needle we're passing by there in Seattle. Back to our forward view. Our first waypoint should be that right ahead of us, Maine airport, which are the two white dots there in front of us. You can't really see very well, the sky's so bright. And my head's right in the way, isn't it? We're climbing through 7,500 up to 12,000. Actually, if you look down here, you can, I don't know if you can see it on your screens, there's an aircraft carrier right out there in the bay headed out. Now we just crossed 10,000 feet, so we're going to increase our airspeed a little bit, up to 280 knots. And I'm going to switch my VORs now to the Vancouver VOR, so you should be able, you should hear that. And it's showing us about 82 miles away from the Vancouver VOR, so we're not very far from where we want to go. We'll be turning momentarily to our next waypoint as we approach 12,000 feet. You can see the Puget Sound shoreline here. Some of the islands in the Sound. And off to this side, of course, are the Cascades. These will become a little more clear as we go into Vancouver. I do believe, as I recall, we fly right over that pretty good mountain range going into Vancouver, so it should be an interesting flight. And we're turning now to go up to 16,000 for our next waypoint, and then we will probably start down right away again. The airport in Vancouver actually sits northwest of the city a little bit. It sits out on a little peninsula out into the bay. So we'll be coming in over water. Check the weather and see what the weather looks like now in Vancouver. just about be approaching 16,000 feet at the waypoint of we're coming to, which is BEZOV. Let's see where we're at here. Oh, we're about 9 miles away from it yet. It's coming into the top of the FMS screen now. It's there's my cursor. Okay, there it is. We'll be starting our descent. And we're starting our descent now. There's 16,000 for 12,000. It's telling me we may have an error in our scenery into Toronto. We'll see what happens when we get there. Sometimes the terminal doesn't show up, sometimes it does, and I've reloaded it several times. So we'll have to kind of see what happens. And we'll be crossing the waypoint egret at 12,000. And we'll be turning in on the, let's see, what is the arrival procedure? The GRIZ 5 arrival procedure into Vancouver. Making a little bit of a left turn here once we cross that point. Reducing our speed to 250 knots now. So as we cross 10,000 feet, we'll be at 250 knots as per FAA regulations and Canada regulations. We're showing now that we're 24 miles from the Vancouver VOR. Have to check my frequencies here for the arrival. Heading to 83. Okay. That city that we see over here on the right, I do believe is Bellingham, Washington. Or we had just passed Bellingham, Washington. Let's see. It could be White Rock, Canada too. Bellingham, we should have crossed Bellingham by now. So maybe this is White Rock. We're still in the U.S. We haven't crossed the border yet between Canada and the U.S. So I would say that might be what it's looking like. Let's look at the bay. It looks like maybe Birch Bay, which is, and then Blaine, which is right on the Canadian border. And the altimeter in Vancouver is 3038, so make those adjustments now as we cross 10,000 feet, so we'll be ready to have the right altimeter settings for Vancouver. Oh, we got some clouds popped in on us here. Let's see, it does show Vancouver overcast at, let's see, ceiling is 3,300 feet. We have an overcast cloud deck at 3,300 feet. So, very possible we're not going to see a whole lot until we get down below 3,000 feet, which will be about the time we hit our final approach onto runway 8 right in Vancouver. So, we'll see what happens here. Turning the head, landing lights on at 10,000 feet, and then we should start our descent again momentarily. Once we hit the VOR, which is 8 miles away, we'll start down to 8,000, then 4,000, and then we'll turn to intercept the outer marker for runway 8 right at 3,000 feet. And we're now descending to 8,000 feet. Then we'll be turning in a westerly direction down to 4,000 feet. But you can't tell much with the clouds because the instruments pretty well tell the story. And we are now descending to 4,000. We're actually on the downwind right now, so we'll be turning in here in a little while and watching. You'll notice the red lines over here. I'll get my cursor here. There it is. You notice this is the red line. Where's my cursor? To the right of the cursor is the final approach course. That's the ILS into Vancouver. And we're headed in the opposite direction. We'll meet up with a waypoint soon, and then we'll be turning inbound to that ILS heading. Descending to 4,000 feet. We're getting near the bottom of the cloud layer. Not much to see on either side right now, it doesn't look like. A little break in the cloud there, you can see it passing by us. Over here as well, a little bit, you can see a little bit of ground underneath the cloud, not a whole lot. And just barely see a shoreline up here, which is about where we're going to turn at. As you can see now, the red bar crosses from our path here over to our first waypoint. So you can see what our travel flight's going to be. And we're reducing to 210 knots now. Bringing up over. We're going way too fast here. I'm going to slow down. And now we're turning inbound to that next waypoint. And now we're settled into our, we got to make a switch here and something from our GPS heading to our nav heading. There we go. Turn on the approach system. Now we should be turning inbound shortly. Now we are locked in on the approach system and we're turning inbound. The airport should appear in front of us in a couple of minutes. Landing gear is going down. You can see there's a little ground haze there. reducing to 180 knots. And we did overshoot the runway a little bit, but we're turning back to it. The airport's right in front of us. We'll be coming into that runway very shortly, turning into the heading for it. I don't know if you can see there's a river with an island in it, and we're landing just to the left of that, right along the seaboard. And we're now on the glide slope, starting our descent to Vancouver. Again, I'll be reducing our airspeed down to about 150 knots. Reducing now to 160, extending the flaps. You should, I don't know if you can see it, it's not very easy to see because of the cloud cover and the reflections of the clouds in the water. Our runway, which is straight ahead of us now. Get rid of that runway beacon so we I don't know if you can see the ripples in the water or not, but I can see some ripples in the water. You might be able to see it once this comes off of me. Once we get squared away here. We're just about at 1,000 feet, so we'll be ready to cut the throttle. Again, reducing to 150 knots. Making a wind correction. A little bit under the glide slope now, so we're pushing the plane back up to the glide slope. And then we'll be back on it again. Now we're back on the glide slope again, so we're heading down into the airport, passing 1,500 feet, or 1,300 feet, now 1,200 feet. We should be just about, we should be getting the 1,000-foot warning shortly. And I don't see any buildings at the airport, so I've got an issue with my scenery. So I'll have to reload the scenery, I think, when we get here. Turning off the auto throttle. Showing 154 knots now. Slowing it down to 153 knots, 151. It says I should be able to land, minimum landing speed is 117 knots, but I do want to keep it a little bit higher than that. You can see some trees right along the flight path into the airport.
Motion.
Turning off the autopilot.
400.
Watch out for these trees here.
300.
Says we're a little bit high for the runway.
200.
That's okay. It looks like we've got a lot of runway to worry about, so we're okay.
100.
137 knots.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
10 knots will kill the power. Let the plane sort of float in. when we're turning off on hotel, I need to see what my chart shows now for my arrival taxiway. I believe is our hotel would be G. Would be Golf. It's probably the next one up. And landing lights are off. Pizza heat's off. And my ice is off. Turning right on this taxiway. Unfortunately, we have the buildings, which I'm going to have to redo the scenery package, I think, on this one. I think I'm missing some support files, so we'll have to go in and look. Come back this way a little bit. And our gate would have been located up in this area. There's one. 2, our gate would be the next marker that comes up on the right, on the left rather, right here. So we're going to turn right here on this taxi line, and this should take us to what would have been our gate. So we'll pull it up right here and we'll stop it right here. And that should be it for now. We're going to shut things down. Let's see, let's turn the APU on. See the time, 19:01. And fill the engines. And we're going to stop at this point, the streaming and the recording.